Hello, it's week 1 of season 7 of the Andy Griffith Show. This week's episode title is Opie's Girlfriend. Barney, Andy and Gooder are sitting in front of the courthouse, and Gooder is kidding Andy about the fact that Helen beat Andy at bowling last night. And then Andy has to go home because he's expecting Helen to come over and to bring her niece with her. And then he tells Opie that he wants him to play with her when she gets here. And Opie don't want to, because it's Saturday, and because she's a girl. And Andy says, well, that's what you're going to do anyway, because I said so. And then Helen arrives with her niece. Her niece's name is Cynthia. Cynthia's from Morgantown, West Virginia, which is a good point for Aunt B, because Aunt B's from West Virginia too, so they had a lot to talk about. But then after their conversation, Cynthia moves to Opie, and Opie doesn't even really try to talk to her. Yeah, and Andy has to pressure Opie to invite Cynthia to go outside to play. And once they're outside, Cynthia brings up the fact that her Aunt Helen, who of course is Opie's teacher, said that Opie is class president, so he must be very popular. And this makes Opie feel good, and then they both smile. And then Opie offers to show Cynthia around town. But then it turns out that she can do a cartwheel better than he can, and she can run faster. And then Gooder sees them from the filling station and calls them to come down there. And Floyd is there too, in his car. And Gooder offers both of them a bottle of tot on the house. And then Opie tries to jump over the oil pit to impress Cynthia, but he slips and falls in. So Opie's embarrassed at this third time that he looks bad in front of her, and he says he's got other things to do right now. He can't play anymore. And she says okay, and she starts to walk off. And Gooder can see that Opie is upset, so he tells him, just make sure if you're ever trying to impress a girl that you're doing something that you know you're better at. So Opie feels better, and he yells after Cynthia, I can play some more. I'll meet you in front of Miss Crut's house in 10 minutes. So he runs home, and he gets a football, and he organizes a football game with some of his friends. And Auntie and Andy tell him to take it real easy on Cynthia. But she intercepts a pass to Opie on the first play. And Opie yells interference, but even the other guys don't agree with him on that. She didn't touch him. And then she and Opie start arguing, and she shoves him, and he shoves her back, and she ends up getting him a black eye. And then when Andy sees it, he assumes it's that Opie was fighting another boy while protecting Cynthia. So Andy is having trouble getting too mad about it. Meanwhile, Cynthia is telling her Aunt Helen that she's sorry that she hit Opie. And Helen says that's okay. She'll discuss it with Opie's father tonight. But before she can do that, Andy goes in the barbershop and describes to Goober and Floyd how Opie got that black eye while he was fighting a boy and protecting Cynthia. But then a boy comes in for a haircut, a boy who was at that football game and who saw everything. And he tells them how Opie really got that black eye. And Andy don't like this at all. And he leaves to go find Opie. And when Opie tells him that she took the task meant for him and that she touched him first, Andy says don't worry about it. And that night Helen tells Andy that Opie should get used to coming across girls who can do things better than he can and not getting upset about it. And she reminds Andy that she beat Andy in bowling and Andy didn't get upset. She says Opie needs to be like that. But then Andy says, well, you just beat me 'cause I didn't have my own bowling shoes. And she says, you're acting as immature as Opie. And he says, well, speaking of Opie, he's sitting at home right now with a black eye because you made me have him play with your niece. So now they're both mad and at each other and they call off their date. And so Andy leaves and Cynthia comes downstairs. And as Helen is explaining the male ego to Cynthia, she comes up with a plan to attach things up with Opie and with Andy. She has Cynthia roller skate over to Opie and say she needs somebody to help her get better at it. She says she bets Opie's pretty good at it. And he appreciates the compliment, and then he brightens up, and he starts teaching her. And then Helen lets Andy win at bowling, and Andy says, It's not 'cause she let in, it's 'cause he was wearing his own bowling shoes. We'll see you next week for episode 2 of season 7.